Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises I forever do. And in the name of his last and greatest messenger, Mr. Elijah Muhammad, I say once again, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Jasir Kabir, and I am the principal teacher at the Do for Self Academy Temple of the Nation of Islam, of the Lost Foundation of Islam. We are here at the Do for Self Academy as an example of what to do and how to get it accomplished. And it has been a while since I've come on this microphone and presented a subject on the matter of separation. And whatever time I have left, praises be to Allah, I am earnestly and diligently striving to get another 30 to 35 years out of my physical existence. Whatever time I have left, I'm going to dedicate my time, to going into the teachings of Islam as taught by Elijah Muhammad and unpack the seriousness of the teachings of separation. The teachings of separation. And what is Islam? Islam is submission to do the will of Allah. And according to Islam, as taught by Elijah Muhammad, the black man is Allah. Master Farad Muhammad is the supreme being. He said, we are all Allah. What is the will of the black man according to Islam? The will of the black man in America should be to separate from the white man and build our own civilization. I'm going to say this again. Islam is submission to do the will of Allah. The will of Allah is to separate the black man from the white race, that the black man may build a civilization of our own. In the original creation, trillions of years ago, it was not a perfected creation, because the original designer or scientist who created himself out of total triple darkness, he had nothing to go by. He could not have a will until he had brains. In the absence of full brain power, the will was imperfect. And here we are, 76, 78 trillion years from the moment time was recorded, or as far as we could go back, praises be to Allah. According to the teachings of Master Farad Muhammad to Elijah Muhammad, as far as we could go back is 76, 78 trillion years. And here we are trillions of years later, we are living in the greatest time in the history of civilization. I would say outside of the original creation. We, the black man, in America specifically, and the original black people throughout the planet, we have the wisdom to perfect our creation. As we look at the white race, according to Master Farad Muhammad, the white race is a race of devils. And what makes them the devil is not their color. What makes them the devil is in the nature in which they were made. It took 600 years to make them, and they were grafted from the brown germ. In that original creation, it was imperfect, and that represents the brown germ. So their maker, who was an original black man by the name of Yaqub, he discovered in the black man that there were two germs, one a black germ and one a brown germ. So he went to work to separate the brown germ from the black germ. And it took him 200 years to do so. I'm doing my best to stay to the subject, but I'm giving you a mathematical, theological, historical breakdown of how we found ourselves in this predicament. What makes the white man the devil? Because he was grafted to his weakest stage. If he could have been grafted any weaker, he would have been nothing but pus and sores. But let me get off of the white man and let me talk to the black man. My subject this morning is coming from an article in the book Message to the Black Man in America. Page 56, the title is Help Self, What Must Be Done with the Negroes. And mind you, this book was published 60 years ago, 1965. I'm going so far as to say that 99% of the people who said that they are followers and practitioners and believers of Islam as taught by Elijah Muhammad are liars. I'm going to prove it at no limit of time. I'm going to reference something from the Holy Quran that was revealed to Prophet Muhammad. But I'm also going to reference the teachings of Elijah Muhammad that he was taught by Master W.D. Farad Muhammad. In the absence of true Islam, which is freedom, justice, and equality, the community of black Muslims are just making up stuff as they go. And the reason why you are making up things as you go is because you do not want to eliminate the master-slave relationship. The only way we can eliminate the master-slave relationship is to build a world of our own. As a matter of fact, praises be to Allah, separation of the black man from the white man, according to Elijah Muhammad, is the only aim and purpose of us even getting Islam here in America. Without separation as the most essential platform, not just an intellectual platform, but the physicality of carrying the process of separation out. Without doing that, then we relegate ourselves to Orthodox Islam, Christianity, a form of Buddhism, Hinduism, African spiritualists, being conscious, and so on and so forth. And all of these things have already failed us. We were Orthodox Muslims prior to the white man coming to the continent that is called Africa to purchase our ancestors from other black people. These people were Muslims. Muslims sold other Muslims into slavery. That's a fact. Does that make Islam wrong? No. And all of this was for a divine reason. We gave the white man dominion over everything for 6,000 years. And he exercised his power, dominion, and authority over 90% of the population. And here we are today, and there's not a nation on the planet that is not filled with corruption. It's not one nation on the planet that is void of corruption. So we have a wisdom. It's called the supreme wisdom, or the mathematical theology. But this mathematical theology is very complex. And what makes it intensely complex is our condition of being rooted in 400 years of slavery, suffering, and death to this white race. And this 400 years has all but destroyed in us the desire to become free and independent. And Mr. Elijah Muhammad, for over 43 years, he gave black people everything he had. Everything. To warn black people of what was coming and how to avoid what was inevitable. And here we are looking at it right today. Throughout all black organizations, there has been and continues to be agents, and tools, and spies who conspire with the enemy to destroy said organizations. And the lost foundation of Islam was no example. Was no exception. The so-called lost foundation of Islam, as it is today, is not an exception. These agents, tools, and spies are honeycombed throughout the community. This is why the teachings of separation is frowned upon by those who call themselves members of the Lost Found Nation of Islam. There are some people who talk about it. They make it a part of their intellectual presentation. These are just mere words to get people to listen to them. And that's from the most well-known sect or group or so-called leader to the regular brother and sister walking the street that you see every day, walking around, glowing skin, beautiful statue, kind, decent human beings. That's what Islam produces. This Islam produces self-reliance, self-improvement. But all of these improvements is to advance our march towards separation. We do not seek to improve just to become better in the white man's civilization. The teachings of separation is the most essential intellectual platform today. But yet it is avoided like the plague. Why? Because of these damn agents, and tools, and spies. This article helps self what must be done. The word must is inserted into this article about 16 times. I'm not going to give you a play-by-play of the article. I'm just going to unpack certain paragraphs or words that I want to highlight. Now, as previously said by me, the community of the Lost Found Nation of Islam is not an example of what Elijah Muhammad taught. You have people who can enunciate what he said, they can regurgitate what he said, and they can spellbound you with their words and their presentation. They have charisma, their mastery of the language is flawless. When I said the language, I mean the English language. They can recite their lessons. They can quote the Bible. They can quote the Holy Quran. They can quote all of the messenger's books, his articles, his audio and video presentations. Yet we see no example of separation. Zero. You may ask, what about you, Brother Yasir? Well, you don't see no example of separation as far as I'm concerned either. And that is because I don't have any help. And the reason why I do not have any help is because the men are such cowards. You are filled with envy and jealousy and self-hatred. So you go to war. You have gone to war against me. And I don't have no problem because I want to fight you back. Now, how did I come up with you are going to war? Well, in this article, the beginning of the second paragraph, this is what Elijah Muhammad wrote. The acquisition of land has been the factors for more wars than any other cause. So when I began advocating and teaching and asking you, the men, to come together to form a national council, a national registry, that we may organize ourselves to acquire some land, you went to war. You first went to war with my mentor, a brother by the name of Muhammad Rasul Zaire, who registered in 1963. I watched you go to war against him. I participated with him in going to war against you. And he's no longer here. Where he is, I'm not sure. But the war is still taking place. And in every temple of Islam, you should see the actual facts board, which asks the question, which one will survive the war of Armageddon? The war of Armageddon is taking place right within the boundaries of the lost found nation of Islam as it is today. The sectarian and factional conflict is throughout the community. All of this took place after 1975. And this was the agenda of the FBI, COINTELPRO. I do not want to be too long today, but I want to take the time to do this presentation. And I want to thank a very dear sister in North Carolina who had a conversation with evening before last. She was sharing with me how she used to write articles in a publication that she was the publisher and editor of. And she was quoting some of the things that she had wrote in the article from the teachings of Islam. And I said, I said, you know where you got, what article that you got that from? She said, no, I don't remember. I said, you got it from page 56, Message to the Blackman. And I went to one of my old Message to the Blackman books that I've had for 40 years, over 40 years. And I took a picture of it and screenshot her how I highlighted it and took notes from this particular article when I was teaching this subject years ago. So her and I, we were discussing this article. So that's my motivation for bringing this to you this morning before I start my day to go out and do some work. The word must is in this article 16 times. So let me define the word must. According to the dictionary, a verb, be obliged to, should, expressing necessity. Expression of an opinion about something that is logically very likely. A noun, informal, something that should not be overlooked or missed. From the Merriam-Webster dictionary, auxiliary verb, be commanded or requested to, be urged to, ought by all means to, be compelled by physical necessity to, be required by immediate or future need or purpose to, be obliged to, be required by law, custom, or moral conscience, be determined to. You can do your own work as far as this definition. I'm not doing nobody's work for them. The word must is here. And I'm going to cover every sentence that the word must is in. I'm not going to cover every one of them, but I'm going to cover some of them. We must not let our children be as are we, beggars of another man for his home, facilities, clothing, food, and the means of providing a living. That's in the first paragraph. Second paragraph, economists agree that in order for any type of nation or system, capitalism or communism, democracy or totalitarian or what have you, to exist and have a degree of independence, there must be ownership of land. As a people, we must become producers and not remain consumers and employees. We must be able to extract raw materials from the earth and manufacture them into something useful for ourselves. We must remember that without land, there is no production. We must begin at the cradle and teach our babies that they must do something for self. They must not be like we, their fathers, who look to the slave makers and slave masters, children for all. I'm going to repeat that. They must not be like we, their fathers, who look to the slave makers and slave masters' children for all. We must teach our children now with an enthusiasm exceeding that which our slave masters used in having our forefathers embed the seed of dependency within us. We must stop the process of giving our brain power, labor, and wealth to our slave masters' children. We must eliminate the master-slave relationship. We must have that which will make us want to do for ourselves as other people want and do for themselves. You ask, how can this be done? The so-called Negroes must be taught and given Islam. This is your problem. You don't want to be taught. That's your problem. You do not want to be taught. And this is what makes the men who claim to believe, it makes you delusional and crazy. You know that separation is the truth. You know what Elijah Muhammad taught is the truth. You know it. Elijah Muhammad taught separation. This is just one article. I can go through the whole book. You know it's the truth. It's like the lesson say, you know that it rains, hails, and it snows. and you can hit the thunder above your head. But you try not to learn just who causes all this to happen by letting the 5% teach you. And this is why I refer to the men as crazy. And what makes you mentally deranged is that you begin to disbelieve in that which you know is true. And the reason why you do this is because you are envious of one another. And what Elijah Muhammad taught, he said, unity, we will be all or nothing. He said, we must first be brothers. But you want to be this high and mighty great teacher or this great speaker. And then some of you want to be over everybody. With this subject of separation, and you going out on a farm and digging trenches and building buildings and things of that nature, extracting raw materials out of the earth to reproduce, which is there, it remove your titles. You are not a minister on some land. You're not a captain or a lieutenant or a squad leader or secretary. There's no hierarchy of rank when it comes to separation. The ranking system takes place organically and naturally in a very fluid way when we're out here working collectively and harmoniously. We are going to recognize each individual's specific qualifications to get something done. So let me get to the FBI COINTELPRO. I wrote a book, or I published a book, titled The Exponential Effects of Hypocrisy, The Venomous Sting of Malcolm Little, formerly Malcolm X. And chapter 9 of this book, I believe it's chapter 9, it's titled The FBI COINTELPRO. Let us understand what happened. And this is what the FBI wrote. Although the Nation of Islam, NOI, does not presently advocate violence by its members, the group does preach hatred of the white race and racial separatism. The membership of the NOI is organized and possess a real racial threat. And let me just say that now, today, that is no longer the truth. The Lost Found Nation of Islam, as it stands today, is not organized and it's not a threat. The NOI is responsible for the largest black nationalist newspaper, which has been used by other black extremists. The NOI appears to be the personal fiefdom of Elijah Muhammad. When he dies, a power struggle can be expected. And the NOI could change, pardon me, could change direction. We should be prepared for this eventuality. We should plan how to change the philosophy of the NOI to one of the strictly religious and self-improvement orientation, deleting the race hatred and separate nationhood aspects. There you have it. There you have it. This is from 1969. In this connection, Chicago should consider what counterintelligence action might be needed now or at the time of Elijah Muhammad's death to bring about such a change in NOI philosophy. Important considerations should include the identity, strengths, and weaknesses of any contenders for NOI leadership. What are the positions of our informants in regard to leadership? How could potential leaders be turned or neutralized? The alternative to changing the philosophy of the NOI is the destruction of the organization. This might be accomplished through generating factionalism among the contenders for Elijah Muhammad's leadership, or through legal action in probate court on his death. Now, again, I don't know how you read all of these things, but yet you still fall victim to them. You're reading what the devil put in place, but yet you fall victim to them. Every day or a year or opportunity, some faction bursts forth. You may say, well, the Do for Self Academy isn't faction. No, it's not. The Do for Self Academy is not a faction of the Lost Foundation of Islam. It's not a sect of the Lost Foundation of Islam. It's not. You can go to our website, the Do for Self Academy.org, and you can read about us. Read what we are about. No, we advocate unity to all of these different factions and sects that claim to believe only in Allah, Master Prophet Muhammad, and his messenger Elijah Muhammad. The reason why you shun me is because my focus is on the teachings of separation. That's why you shun the Do for Self Academy. So I'm only presenting these things as a reaction to your waging war against the teachings of separation. What you're really doing, you're using Elijah Muhammad's good name to shield your dirty religion. And this takes place in Richmond, Virginia. It takes place in Chicago. It takes place in Detroit. It takes place in Philadelphia. It takes place in Camden, New Jersey. It takes place in New York. It takes place in Atlanta. In every place that you find where there are people who claim to follow the teachings of Islam as taught by Elijah Muhammad, you're going to find factionalism. And these factions are led, for the most part, by very illiterate men. I mean illiterate. And they are using a grafted teaching, pardon me, to keep themselves and their congregation illiterate. And the lesson asks the question, why does the devil keep our people illiterate? So when you go to this actual fact board, the war between Christianity and Islam, now you got to go into what is Christianity and what is Islam. Islam is freedom, justice, and equality. And he said you can have no freedom without land. And as you look at the actual fact board, you see that man under Christianity hanging, strung up by the tree. And the reason why he's strung up in falsehood, which is Christianity, because his feet are not attached to any land. Just go look at the actual fact board. This is why he's not free. He's not free, brothers and sisters, because he is void of land acquisition and ownership to build his own world. Land is not a necessity just to grow food and raise livestock and manufacture equipment. Land is a most necessary requirement to build and to grow a new people. And these new people will become the universal rulers. But you niggas who call yourselves teachers or presenters of Islam as taught by Elijah Muhammad, you are no more than poor renditions of the white man's Christian preachers. And I'm going to prove it to you. I take you no further than the book. You say you don't need nothing because you have all the books. Well, you don't understand what's in the book. The coming of God and the gathering together of his people. So I'm here to point out the people who go to war against our rise, who go to war against the truth. And what is the truth? The truth is that separation is a must. Elijah Muhammad says separation or death. Separation is the will of Allah. Separation of the black man from the white race to become free and independent is Islam. And without separation, you don't have Islam. All you have is information. On page 18 of this book, Elijah Muhammad wrote, the greatest hindrance to the truth of our people is the preacher of Christianity. He will not accept it, nor is he content to let others alone who are trying to accept the truth. It's 1965. So you got to bring this up to modern time. He is the man who stands in the way of the salvation of his people. There can be no salvation without separation. And as soon as the people awaken to the knowledge of this man in their way to God, freedom, justice, and equality, and stop following him, the sooner they will be in heaven while they live. Freedom, justice, and equality is Islam. Islam is submission to do the will of Allah. The will of Allah is to separate the black man from the white man and then destroy the white man. You cannot destroy the white man if you don't separate from the white man. And if you don't separate from the white man, you're going to be destroyed with the white man. That's what we are facing. We are facing destruction due to the rejection of what Elijah Muhammad taught. So I go to war with you. By myself, I don't have no problem. English lesson C1 said, I came to North America by myself. So I don't mind being alone if that's what it's going to take. And I know what I advocate and what I teach, I'm never going to live long enough to see the finalities of it. The groundhog's going to be delivering my mail. And whatever time I have left, I'm going to war against this community of liars. These people are liars. These people call themselves Muslims. These people are liars. Led by men and women, Because you got women doing the same thing. They love to get up and preach. Some of these people get on YouTube and have 4-hour lectures. Then you go back and you listen to old lectures by this one or that one, and none of you are hitting the mark. I had a group of Muslims locally say to me that they're going to try to go to Africa. I said, man, you've been teaching Islam for over 40 years. And you see what's coming on America. Now you want to leave and run to Africa. It's a goddamn coward. You're going to run to Africa to do what? I'm not trusting the Africans. I don't trust the Africans. I don't trust the Arabs. And you know damn well I don't trust the devil. I don't trust the Hindu people. I don't trust nobody. I do not trust these people. Because America's greatest accomplishment is the black slave. So people throughout the entire 196,940,000 square miles of the planet, they see the black man in America as no more than a child, a tool, and a fool. You're so easy to be deceived, and you rather suffer anything than go for self. I'm in it now, so I'm going to go as long as I feel like it. There's an article in this book titled The Opening. So when I call you a coward, you take it up with Elijah Muhammad. And he wrote, the touch of Islam makes the lost found have a sense of dignity, and for the first time he feels that he should do something for self. So maybe Islam has not touched you yet. What is Islam? Submission to do the will of Allah. What is the will of Allah? Separation. So separation hasn't touched you. So you got to go deeper than what the words say on the paper. You got to go way deeper than that. You got to dig where the real wisdom lies. The real wisdom lies in the earth. The supreme wisdom. The student enrollment deals with the earth, man. It deals with the people of the earth, the original man, the colored man. It deals with the population of the original people. It deals with the population of the colored man. It deals with the square mileage of the entire planet, the square mileage of the water, the square mileage of the land. It gives you and I the square mileage of the useful land that's used by every people. How much useful land that is implemented by the original people, and how much is implemented by the colored man. It gives us the birth of Islam, the birth of Christianity and Buddhism. But you're no longer enrolled as a student. Because you don't want to be taught. So separation hasn't touched you yet. And this is why you have no desire to separate. He gave us a prayer that we should write this 7 times a day. I'm not even going to say the prayer. No, I'm going to say it. he said, in the prayer it says, "O Allah, I seek their refuge from anxiety and grief, and I seek their refuge from lack of strength and laziness. And I seek their refuge from cowardice and negodliness. And I seek their refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice thou me with what is lawful, to keep me away from what is prohibited, and with thy grace make me free from want of what is besides thee." He said, we, the lost found, should repeat the above prayer 7 times a day, for it sums up our greatest hindrance to freedom and self-independence. In order to have freedom and self-independence, we need land, he said. He said, this prayer sums up our greatest hindrance to land acquisition to become free and independent. And I understand how you dumb niggas keep missing it. Yes, I do, because you don't want to be taught. You think you already know. He said, we must get away from the idea of depending on others to do for us what we can do for self. Fear, cowardice, and laziness are our greatest enemies. We are brave enough to fight to preserve the white race's independence, but not brave for self and kind. So I call you a coward. I say you're fearful, you're lazy. I say you're envious and jealous of one another. And this is due to your being in love with the white race. I got one more thing I want to cover. And this is from Our Savior Has Arrived. Never taught the true knowledge of God. Never taught a true knowledge of God. Page 20 in the book Message to the Black Man. I'm sorry, in the book Our Savior Has Arrived. He said, this is the time. There never will be any peace among the nations of earth until the so-called Negroes have heard the truth, and those who accept it are separated and placed in the paradise of their God, Allah. The so-called Negroes with their God, Allah, shall become the universal rulers, believe it or not. He said they can do it now if they will quit this slavery religion called Christianity. Have we become universal rulers? No. Why? Because collectively we have not quit Christianity. You just call yourself Muslim. And in this previous article I read from Message to the Black Man, he said, and now take notice of those who call themselves Christians. I said, now take notice of those who call themselves Muslims. You call yourself a Muslim. But you refuse to accept the responsibility of becoming universal rulers. No black people who accept Christianity will ever be free. You automatically become the servant of the white race and not of God upon accepting their religion. So we have not become the universal rulers. And the reason we haven't become universal rulers, because collectively we have not quit Christianity. And go back to your actual fact board. You don't see any images of me on here because I'm going to try to upload this and put just still pictures to amplify this presentation. Y'all keep playing around, we're going to face a demise and destruction of our small tribe, the lost found tribe of Shabazz, here in the wilderness of North America. On a side note, I don't think we're going to be able to avoid extinction and destruction without an internal bloody civil war among ourselves. I don't believe we're going to be able to do it. I don't see how we're going to get out of this. Every day, there are scores of black men, especially with the advent of social media. There are scores and unlimited number of so-called black men who reject the true and only solution to the problem between the two people. So I see them as enemies. I see them as traitors. I see them as tools. I see them as Toms. And you go back and read that original article, Help Self, What Must Be Done, with the Negroes. He said all civilized people get the benefit of their resources to their own people. All civilized people, he said. And the civilized people who don't participate with giving the benefit of their resources, be it education, be it talent, wealth, skills, he referred to them as tools, toms, traitors, and spies. Now, you and I got to apply this to the person you see in the mirror. Elijah Muhammad was so far ahead of everybody else, it is blasphemous for any of us to really refer to ourselves as one of his followers. Now, according to Hadith, he said that in the last days, you'll be able to fit his true followers in a taxi cab. I never heard that coming out of his mouth, and I never seen it written anywhere. That doesn't mean he didn't say it. So for me, I say it's Hadith. Those true followers, that taxi cab, those are the people who are not only teaching separation, but advocating it. I'm out here by myself. I mean, literally by myself, working on just a small 5-acre plot. I don't get a dime. I don't get a call. I don't get anything from the men. Why? Because they're coward asses. They have waged war against me. That's why. These are cowards. They wish I failed. Well, what I want to do from a physical standpoint, I'm not going to be able to do. It's impossible. I know that. But what I can do, I'm going to do. Which is I'm going to point out to those coming in the future the characteristics of the 3 categories of men. That is the believer, the disbeliever, and the hypocrite. That's my whole aim and purpose here. I can't do this by myself. I cannot. It's impossible. I mean, I go months and years without hearing from men who call themselves Muslims. The only time they may reach out to me is Happy Independence Day, Happy Savior's Day, and Happy Ramadan. And I said, don't send me those texts, because you're lying. It's probably why they don't reach out to me. I don't want to hear it from you. You don't have independence without separation. So when you say Happy Independence Day, you're a Christian, man. You say Happy Savior's Day, you're a Christian. That's your Christmas. Ramadan is your Christmas. Happy Savior's Day It's your New Year's Day. You might as well go get some hog mugs and chitlins, fatback, black-eyed peas and stewed tomato. You might as well go through the whole Christian, pagan construct and just leave Islam alone. I wish you would quit. And some of you, I've already forced you to quit. Because I don't want people like you around me. That's men and women. So I want to thank the sister down in North Carolina. She knows who she is. Who I enjoyed this conversation with. And she might be the only person that I really can have a very fluid and beautiful conversation on this subject of separation. She gets it. She might be the only person who can go step by step with me from a conversation standpoint. And she's overburdened with her own duties that she has to take care of. And at the same time, because of her intelligence, I try to keep her close. And she like, Kabir, I don't want to be bothered with these niggas. I'm done. I don't gave all I could. Well, I can't do that. I'm not trying to teach you. I'm trying to push you into the lake of fire. So that's what this is about. I'm not doing this to change you niggas' mind. You got 3 or 4 temples in Richmond. I live about an hour from Richmond. They don't call. They don't say, brother, can anything we can do? They won't call each other. They won't come together. I say they are following J. Edgar Hoover's blueprint. You got the same thing in Detroit. You got the same thing in Philly. You got the same thing throughout all of America. You got these little factions and groups. That's not what the Do for Self Academy program is about. I'm going to leave you in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, and in the name of his last and greatest apostle and messenger, the great Elijah Muhammad, with the greetings of peace and of paradise of Assalamu alaikum.